Hello, Bob Rietfeld here, preaching and teaching minister of the Spring Hill Christian Church of Rural Oak, Lockney, Georgia. And welcome to another lesson, lesson 12, on survey of the New Testament, where we go ahead and just give a brief outline, survey, so to speak, of the books of the New Testament. And today we are ready to look at one of the Pauline epistles, the book of Philippians. And so you might want to write some of these verses down, just kind of jot them down if you would. A little bit of general information on the book. The meaning of Philippians, the word Philippians, is one who lives in Philippi. The author is Paul. We read in chapter 1:1. Timothy is also included. He was probably the scribe that did the actual writing as Paul dictated to him as he was inspired by the Holy Spirit. External evidence is very strong for Paul being the author. Only questions have been over the book's integrity or unity. It was written about 63 A.D., written near the end of Paul's first Roman imprisonment. See Acts chapter 28. And Philippians 2, 19 through 24 indicates that Paul is expecting to be free soon. Items delivered to Epaphroditus. He brought a gift from Philippi to Paul in Rome. Stayed and helped Paul and is now going back. Chapter 2, verses 25 through 30. The purpose of Philippians, to express Paul's personal joy with the church of Philippi, to thank the Philippians for their gifts, to express his love for the Philippians, to tell the Philippians about his work, to warn the Philippians of dangers to their faith. The historical setting for the book of Philippians is the city of Philippi. It was a chief city of Macedonia. It was a Roman free city by Augustus, named after Philip II, the father of Alexander the Great. On the Egnatian Way, with a great Roman road linking the east and the west, so it was a large and strategic trade center. They were famous for nearby gold mines. The church founded by Paul on his second missionary journey and the first church in Europe. The recipients were the church at Philippi, the saints along with the bishop and elders. We look in chapter 1, verse 1. Some key word or idea is joy. You need to read Philippians when you're down and out and need a boost. A letter of Christian friendship and fellowship. Joy comes from learning, accepting, and sharing. And we need to distinguish between happiness, which is a feeling, and joy, which is a character trait. Key verses is chapter 4, verse 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. And some key concepts are joy and happiness. In other words, contentment. Have the mind of Christ. The mind of Christ is the greatest example for Christian joy. The church at Philippi was founded by Paul on his second missionary journey. We look at Acts chapter 16. It was the first church in Europe. They sent Paul money twice in Thessalonica. See in chapter 4, verse 16, and once in Corinth. 2 Corinthians 11:9, and now in Rome, chapter 4, verse 18. It was the only church he accepted money from. It caused Paul the least pain, the church of Philippi, and the most joy of all the churches. Philippians is the last of what's called the prison epistles, the epistles that Paul wrote while he was in prison. Without any definite outline or subject matter, it's definitely a letter of joy and thanks, and not an attempt to logically correct anything. It was the happiest of all of Paul's letters, and it was a letter of friendship and fellowship. The contents, chapter 1, rejoice, Christ is proclaimed. Chapter 2, rejoice, Christ came. Chapter 3, rejoice, Christ gives the prize of heaven. And chapter 4, rejoice, Christ provides what we need. Some key verses, chapter 1, verses 20 through 24, in living or in dying, honor the Lord. Chapter 2, verses 1 through 11, the mind of Christ equals incarnation. 2:12, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. That doesn't mean that we work and earn our salvation, but because we are saved, we are faithful, and that's working out because of God. Chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, forget what is behind and strain for what lies ahead. Press on toward the prize. Chapter 4:7, the peace that passes all understanding. And then chapter 4, verses 11 through 19 talks about contentment, for example, of missionary support. That's our overview of the book of Philippians. I hope you have enjoyed that and looked up some of those things, and go ahead and read and study the book of Philippians this week. You'll be glad that you did. Next week, we'll be talking about the book of Colossians. So I hope you have enjoyed, a little pun there, today's lesson as much as I have enjoyed presenting it to you. Hope you have a great day and rest of the week, and that it's filled with the joy of Christ. God bless you.